Buddy, it is time for another Infinity Edge podcast. Before we get started, remember there's a code that you can use to get reduced prices for the esportsdepartment.com. That code, if you've been paying attention, is iEdge. And if you can't spell iEdge by now, then I can't help you. That's your own problem. I don't know what the percentage is. I haven't checked in. I'm just going to keep this as a thing that I do. Someone else can worry about the number of percentage points that you get by using that code. But the LCS, we're going into day 3. So far, 2 pretty good days worth of games. I had another qualifier seat stolen from me by Immortals. So I hate Immortals. Immortals is number 1 on the shit list for now. And that's how my day went yesterday. What about you guys? How'd you do yesterday? What did you think about those games?
Ooh, you're gonna a spoiler alert on how I feel about Immortals today. You're gonna hate me.
What else is new?
Yeah.
Yeah, lost a little bit on the slate, but that's fine. I guess if you watched yesterday's episode, I got proven wrong. I guess I know nothing about the game. Finn took Gwite up into the top lane, teleport Ignite for some fucking reason because he thought he was going to smash Jenkins in top lane, and the gangplank sustained and rolled on him. So, yeah, that happened.
It happened indeed. Yeah, it was interesting. I like the fact that another person picked Gangplank into it. I figured that it just meant the first time it was like the person messed up really bad. But uh he also had that interesting tech where he went boots of swiftness so that Gwen can't really chase him down and it helps him like get out of ganks a little bit. So it was pretty cool. Good first showing from Jenkins. The
Yeah, a lot.
interview was a little shaky at points, but
Yeah,
you know, you got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
So I
they
get
had
like,
a they had a pretty good team too. Like they built Kempa, Chainsword, and all that to cut down on like everyone's healing because they had a ton of healing on that team. So, good game from TL all around.
yeah, all right, let's do it.
All
Let's
right,
get into today's matches.
hopping into our first game of the day. We have Dignitas. Do you still believe 2-0 versus 100 Thieves 1-1? I know there's a lot of talk in the Discord. If you're not in the esports department Discord yet, don't know what you're doing, but they're the believers of Dignitas and not the believers of Dignitas. So my question to you, Alan, here: are you a believer? Are you joining the Church of Dignitas up against 100 Thieves?
That feels a little strong. Joining the Church of Dignitas is probably not going to happen for me, but I do think that this game is probably a toss up at this point in the season. I came into the season being pretty anti Dignitas, and I have to admit, I think I was just wrong about them. I think that if you have a really good jungler in this meta, and in any meta really, you have a chance to beat a lot of teams. Maybe not the very best of the teams that don't have any weaknesses, but I definitely wouldn't say that's 100 Thieves right now. Um, I think that it's kind of a toss up sort of game for me, and I am gonna stay away from it. I think I can't pick one, and when I can't pick one, I'd rather lose elsewhere, to be honest. And I also just think that if 100 Thieves wins, it's probably in a split push sort of game. I think that that's ultimately going to be their identity as they start to as they start to just come together as a team and figure it out. I think at first they will probably play something a little less team oriented. And if Dignitas wins, I could be in big trouble again. But I haven't played Dignitas yet. I don't want to really adjust because they're playing 100 Thieves, who I think could also beat them.
Yeah, the thing that sucks about Dignitas is that they are pretty goddamn cheap today, and if people are just watching what's happening this week, I assume they're going to be highly owned. So we'll throw it over to you, Michael. Dignitas for 100 Thieves. Are you converting over to the Church of Dignitas?
I don't need to convert. I've been in the Church of Dignitas my whole life, so I don't know what you're talking about. I'm probably the biggest Dardoch supporter that's playing DFS right now, so I take all credit for his success. This is a spot that sucks for me because I think that 100 Thieves is a better team, but I like playing Dignitas. So it's kind of like a bad situation both sides. The interesting thing is that the fact that they're both like very jungle focused teams. Abadage has been playing around closer, and he actually mentioned that during their interview. So it's just like they give additional resources. So unless they switch up their draft and get into like an Abadage carry spot, that could be a problem for Dignitas specifically. I think in the top lane, 100 Thieves does have an advantage. And I do think 100 Thieves is just a better team overall. But I'm glad Dignitas is playing well. In the jungle, I think that Dardoch and Closer are very similar. That's because I rate Dardoch higher than most people and Closer a little bit lower than most people. Mid lane, I think Abadage does have the advantage, but there are a lot of matchups that could be good for Saligo. Like if 100 Thieves just blindly goes into another spot where they have a supportive mid laner, he can abuse that with some of his champions, like with some of the assassin champions. I don't know if Akali versus Karma is very good in the early game because you'll get like shoved under tower, but you always have a chance of like getting an assassination off. And then in the bot lane, I do think that 100 Thieves has a stronger bot lane, but not by that much. I think that it's easily like it could easily be swung by a couple of ganks or something like that, or just playing the early game kind of safe. So the line was at like plus 140 for Dignitas. I think that's a good line to bet. Minus 182 seems pretty steep for 100 Thieves at this point. And then in regards to DraftKings, if I was playing 100 Thieves, I would probably go with Closer Captain. I think there's a lot of additional value there because of the way that they're playing around him so far. If he continuously plays like Xin Zhao and champions like that, then he's going to be in a really good spot to score a ton of points. And then same thing with Dignitas. Dardoch is probably the main person you want on that team. So I would want to do double jungle stacks with both of these teams, not in the same lineup, but like have both of them as captains. And then if I'm playing someone else from Dignitas, I'd probably want Neo. Neo always has the chance to go off. And this could be a good spot for that. I'm a little afraid that this like kind of slows down and is a lower kill score game. Um, because this is an important match for both of these teams in terms of the standings. So I'm gonna pick Dignitas, and I'm not gonna have much 100 Thieves in my lineups, even though I do think that 100 Thieves is the better team overall. I just think right now Dignitas is kind of in the better spot. Having blue side, it's going to be more difficult for 100 Thieves to draft, and then since there's additional value on Dignitas, that's just the side that I want my name associated with. Um, so that's basically that.
Yeah. Do you think they go back to the Karma today in the mid lane for 100 Thieves?
I do. And the reason I think they do specifically in this matchup is because if they leave up something like Viego or Rumble, they know that uh, Dignitas is most likely going to take that first overall. Then they can kind of go right back at it with Karma plus something else. And if you get a bad matchup mid lane, it's just going to give Closer the additional agency to go after both of the early scuttles and then kind of control the jungle. So that's like it's probably something that Dignitas knows 100 Thieves is going to do and just opt into it anyways. Um, it's a little scary because it can kind of hurt you a lot if you're Dignitas, but that just seems like the kind of team that they are. I think they'll just embrace that matchup and kind of outplay it.
Do you think that
Okay.
do you think that 100 Thieves just thinks Karma is like that level of busted that they're just going to play it whenever they have the chance, or like that's something that they've practiced so heavily?
I think that they think that Karma's a very good champion against Rumble. So if they leave open Rumble, they'll just pick it into the Rumble. They also think that putting Abadage on a supportive mid laner is going to allow them to play the economic side of things, and it's going to give Closer more agency. Karma with specific items like is going to be even better for someone like Xin Zhao. And then they also played the Braum yesterday, so they have multiple auto attack champions plus a Braum, so they get additional value out of the passive. It's just a very good combination of champions. So if they're going to play that style of things, that's completely fine. It's not necessarily the best way to play the game, but it's a valid way to play the game. So I don't really have any issues with it outside of the fact that I think Abadage is better on other champions. But if this is basically them saying we think that Closer is, well, maybe not Closer, but like jungle is more important in this meta. So there will be a time for Abadage to shine, but it's not right now.
Sounds good.
Interesting.
Moving on to our second game of the day, we have the Evil Geniuses sitting at 0-2 on the summer versus FlyQuest 1-1. Evil Geniuses, yeah, again, not a great showing against TSM. From what I can gather from this team, Danny's actually looking pretty good. I saw some things on Jinx yesterday I was kind of impressed by. Maybe that's just mechanics like every pro player can do, but I feel like he isn't the team and isn't the reason he should be the team shouldn't be getting blame right now. And then moving over to the FlyQuest situation, they pretty much got rolled by Dignitas yesterday. Licorice went 0-5 on the Lee Sin, and then Dreams went 1-5 on the Thresh. So I'll toss it over to you, Michael, for this one. Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest. Who are you taking here, and what are you doing with him on DraftKings?
Yeah, so the line is at Evil Geniuses minus 190, FlyQuest plus 150. I definitely like the FlyQuest side in that. From a DraftKings perspective, I like both of the teams. Whenever FlyQuest is in a matchup, you're going to want to play both sides. I do think that Evil Geniuses should be the team that like you lean to, but they're not that much better than FlyQuest. So in the top lane, Licorice against Impact, Licorice could be in a spot where he gets another good matchup against Impact because Impact will often just go for like an even laning phase. Whereas I think Licorice is more likely to play carry. Svenskeren against Jose Dioto. Svenskeren, we haven't seen the best out of Svenskeren, and I think a lot of people are actually, very critical of him right now, saying that he's not playing very well. But this is really where they should just like slam a Lee Sin game and just let him play like one of his best comfort champions. Jizuke, he it's going to sound crazy, but he reminds me a lot of Jackie Love because of how sometimes he'll just make like a ridiculously bad play and completely lose a game, but at the same time he has the upside of making a game winning play, so I love that from him. Ignar is better than Johnson and Dreams, so he's going to have probably the most influence on that lane, and then Danny's going to be along for the ride. I agree that the mechanics that Danny has, they're good enough to play Jinx, but he's not doing anything special in my opinion. So he's really just a beneficiary of the rest of the team playing around him, which is generally what 80 carries get. So this is a spot where you can kind of feel okay playing FlyQuest. I think that their ownership will probably still be somewhat depressed, and both sides are good for DraftKings. So if you have other teams that are your favorite on the slate, you probably want to get both sides of this matchup. But that's basically it. This game isn't going to be the one that you need to take a stand on. You can do that elsewhere.
Okay. Moving on to you, Alan. Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I think that the recency bias on both of these teams is going to be quite a bit down, whereas like they have at times in both of their games, or in all four of their games, I guess I should say, done good things. I mean, Evil Geniuses in particular has had humongous leads that they've thrown away, and then FlyQuest game one was really good. I know that they had a really favorable draft, but they also played it out well. Game two, I don't even know what happened to Licorice in that matchup. Isn't the point of Lee Sin supposed to be that you can just push in over and over again, and then he gets like top lane dove at like 3 minutes in, and he's just done for the game? So that one was a little. I think Dignitas just did a really nice job snowballing that one out of control. I wouldn't take like too much away from FlyQuest in that one. And so I think that that's what makes this game such a like easy one, that you could play both sides if you play that level of lineups. Like literally just play I would say almost 50-50, just because like it's going to get you over the field on both teams, and I would rather get way over the field on FlyQuest just because I think that has a higher upside for winning the tournament. So yeah, I think that the strategy that Michael talked about is the one that I was kind of filling my lineups out with this morning. Like, if you find a team that you're like, all right, I'm staking my claim here with this team, then you can just mix them up with both sides of this matchup and feel pretty good, I think, going into the day.
All right, sounds good. Moving on to our third game of the day. We have my disappointing boys, Cloud9, 0-2 so far in the summer versus Team Liquid 1-1. I probably have to go back and watch the C9 game again, but I just don't know what the hell they're doing draft-wise. Again, I'm just someone who watches all the games, but not deep enough to know too much about draft picks and stuff. But Perks running it down, Vulcan died a lot. It's just all around bad luck for Cloud9, and I'm not sure what's going on. On the Team Liquid side, they had a good day yesterday, as we talked about, going up against CLG. So we'll start with you, Alan, on this one. Cloud9 versus TL. What are you doing here?
It's a tough one, I think, because the opinion on Cloud9 is going to be as low as it probably gets this season. I think yesterday can pretty much be summed up by what you said. Second, which is Perks ran it down. There were just multiple situations where he was in spots where you shouldn't be. I don't know if it was, the Renekton pick or what it was, but he was caught out like just a crazy amount of times yesterday. And that's kind of the style of player he is. Like, he's always just going to be, looking to get away with what he can get away with, because, there can be small advantages there too. So I think that, like, opinion's really low on Cloud9 right now. I think that Team Liquid, I was hoping that they would lose to try and play them here, because I thought that, it would be a good spot to play Team Liquid in, because Cloud9 gives up so many kills. And if Jenkins, looked really bad in his first game, then people were going to be way off of Team Liquid. But that is not the case. And so I think it's a coin flip style game. I mean, I know that's not what anyone wants to hear, but I think that, like, it's a really tough one to pick. You'd have to just go with who you believed was the better team before the season, and for me, that was Team Liquid. But I thought that Alfari would be in there. I thought Jenkins was fine yesterday, but he's not Alfari, obviously. So I would probably lean towards a Cloud9 win in this one, and any team that wins against Team Liquid, I don't really want a piece of in fantasy very much. And I think that because so many of these games are so close, that there's just going to be a lot of spread out ownership, and I don't think you're going to, like, I mean, you could get killed. You could definitely get killed on this game. Like, you could get killed on any individual game, but this is one that I feel comfortable saying I'm going to try and just basically stay away from. Like, if I played a lot of lineups, I would play a few and try to be underweight the field on it, but I don't do that, so I'll just probably end up with, like, one Cloud9 mixed with my favorite team, Immortals, and then one Team Liquid mixed with my favorite team, Immortals.
Yikes.
All right. Yeah, Cloud9 pricing is still the fourth highest on the day. TL is pretty cheap. I could see some, like, dig TL lineups coming in pretty hot. 100 Thieves and C9 could both give up a lot of deaths and a loss here. But we'll throw it over to you, Michael, for your opinions on this match. Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. What's going to happen?
Yeah, so Team Liquid is going to be probably one of the 2 or 3 most popular teams on the slate, and I'm a Cloud9 fan, so I'll be on Cloud9. This is going to be the lowest opinion that you get from them probably all year, unless they lose this game, then it'll be lower. But with Cloud9, it's the same thing as G2 from last split. Like, you get these teams going on bad streaks. That just happens. The drafting was kind of, like, inexcusable from Cloud9, and someone like Emily on the analyst desk, like, I get what she's saying. Like, she says that, she's a huge fan of Rumble Jungle. She's a huge fan of Renekton mid. The reason why she likes these picks is because in, like, the LPL, the good teams play them to punish bad teams who can't play the early game the right way. This is not the same thing. Like if you're blind picking Renekton, then you're giving them the chance to counter you top lane, which they didn't counter with Gnar, but, like, it's a good matchup for Gnar. Then they counter you mid lane because Karma's going to beat you in laning phase. And then you have to kind of scramble for the rest of your draft. So then they pick Malphite going into the Gnar, which is okay. Like, you can queue the Gnar and you'll get your mana flow procs and stuff like that, but you're not going to win the lane that way. And then Nidalee, good champion, but against, a Karma team, a Braum team with Varus, there's a lot of disengage, just not the easiest way to play the game. So I think that they just lost the draft really hard. with Perks dying 7 times and a bunch of times in landing phase. He was trying to make plays. I don't have a problem with that. If you're going to die, at least you're being proactive, trying to actually win the game. So the question is like, how much worse is Cloud9 really right now? And I don't think that they're worse. It's just a couple of bad games. So this game is going to probably be like the Team Liquid TSM game from the first day. I think that there will be like a very high um, kill participation from each teams. I think that there will be a lot of 4-man fights around Dragon and Baron and Rift Herald and stuff like that. So I do think it will actually be like a surprisingly high DraftKings scoring game for a maybe a lower kill score. Because if you get like an 18-14 match where both teams are going into the last team fight with high kill participation from everyone, then you're going to have a lot of points. This is also a spot where you could kind of try to game stack. Because those longer games typically will have that, and we haven't had a good game stack so far, but that's coming fairly soon, I'm sure, because it always just sneaks up on these best of 1 slates. So I have to play Cloud9 here. That's just the way that I play DraftKings in general. So that's really it. Could they go out and have another terrible draft, another horrible early game, and Team Liquid just completely dominates? Yes, but I'm fine with that outcome. So.
All right. Any wrapping up thoughts on C9 versus TL, one of the more rivalries now we have in the LCS?
I think what Michael said about the game being low kills but possibly high DraftKings scoring was actually a pretty good shout, and not something that I had thought about for this game. But that does seem to be like how two good teams play each other a lot of the time. So that's worth looking into. Yeah.
Yeah, because like Cloud9, they should not have tried to play that early game style against 100 Thieves, in my opinion. But they won't try that against Team Liquid. So that's basically it.
All right, moving on to our 4th game of the day. We have TSM 2-0 versus Golden Guardians 1-1. TSM making a statement. I know before the summer season started, they posted something about revenge tour. Well, they're first in the standings right now, and 14-6. God damn it, Cloud9. So disappointed in you. Going up against Golden Guardians. I assume, Michael, this is an easy win. Another day at the office for TSM. They could put in their academy squad, but maybe you have a different opinion. What's your thoughts on TSM versus Golden Guardians?
Yeah, well, Golden Guardians, if Immortals is number 1 on the shit list, then Golden Guardians is number 2 for playing like that yesterday. The game was relatively close. It was like literally 1-1. Then Leona walks into a bush for absolutely no reason, dies. Then Lee Sin walks top lane for absolutely no reason to defend a tower where there's like 4 people from Immortals, and then has to blow flash. And then it's really stupid. It's like it doesn't make sense why you would play that way. It also exploited like why Lee Sin is not actually a really good top lane champion. Like he does have he's the kind of champion where if you're a good team and you're going to win the game anyways, he's going to look very good. If you're on even footing with the enemy team, then the value of a Lee Sin pick is in the playmaking ability. But that's just not. They weren't even close enough to have something like that happen during that game. So this is obviously a spot where you just play TSM in a limited number of combinations, and then don't play Golden Guardians unless you're playing a large number of lineups and you want to get a couple hedge lineups in there, because their ownership will probably be around like 2, 3, 4%. So if you have 1 or 2, then you're about even with the field, and that's generally good enough. If TSM is losing the early game to Golden Guardians, I think that they would just turtle and try to outscale. So maybe that wouldn't even be a good DraftKings scenario for Golden Guardians. That's kind of what you have to think to yourself to justify fading it all together if you're playing, 20 lineups.
Yeah. I think that often people get stuck on like, or if this dog wins, I'm gonna be fucked because like it's only gonna be 1% owned. But you have to also consider that Golden Guardians has to win in a way that outscores other teams. I mean, obviously you can get like, they're you can get them stacked in any direction you want, but you can do that with multiple teams on the slate. So I think that's always something to consider when you're like really going after these really low owned plays. So I don't think that Golden Guardians has like a very good chance to win, probably less than 20%. And I also think that they have a bad chance at scoring well. So I think we're pretty much in lockstep on this one. I would just play a little bit of TSM with whoever your favorite team is. I don't think that there's really like a large chance that TSM becomes the highest scoring team on the slate, but they're basically a guaranteed win, and you take those as we say.
Yeah, in general, I think that what you can like easily justify when you're building lineups is take the percent chance that the team wins and then divide it by 5, and then that's roughly what your ownership starting point should be. And then you figure out if should you be higher or lower, depending on how much you like the different games.
All right, moving on to our 5th and final match of the weekend. I feel like if you've been watching the show from the beginning, unless you're hopping around to different matches, this one's going to be a contention between Michael and Alan. CLG 0-2 versus Immortals 1-1. Alan, we'll just start off with you. What are you doing with this matchup?
I love Immortals. I think that I just think that Immortals has been pretty good in these first 2 games. I think that Xerxes is really comfortable in the current champion pool. It feels like Insanity seems to be doing all right. Revenge is talking shit on Twitter. So as long as the bot lane just doesn't implode, which is a thing that they've done in the past. I remember trusting Immortals on a slate last year and then swearing them off because their bot lane just like inted their faces off. But that hasn't been happening, and I just don't. I don't really think that the CLG team is very good. I think that sometimes these rosters of veterans work out, and sometimes they don't, and it's kind of a mystery what happens between the two. I think like it becomes a communication thing, whatever it is. I just don't think that CLG is very good. I don't really like their roster top to bottom talent wise. And so I'm very comfortable playing Immortals here because CLG is a team I always want to stack against basically when I think they're in a losing matchup. They seem to die a lot. They died a lot last year. They have slowed down a little bit with Broxa in the lineup, but I don't think that matters too much here because Insanity has been Immortals Insanity has been playing a lot of team fight style compositions and playing the games out that way and just getting like a lot of assists on all their players, a lot of kills on all their players. So Immortals is my favorite team. I'm mixing them with the Evil Genius and FlyQuest game. I'm mixing them with Cloud9 and Team Liquid, and I'm mixing them with TSM, and that's just how I'm going to play the slate. And at the end of the day, I will have some live lineups again, and then we'll see what happens from there. But I think that playing either side of this game, to be honest, makes a lot of sense. I think that you should pick a side personally because I think that both teams probably end up in the 10 to 20% at certain positions, and so it's going to be pretty hard to get overweight on the field unless you pick a side.
All right, Michael. Looks like Alan's all in on the late game hammer for Immortals. This won't be the snooze fest for him on Sunday night. What are you doing with this game? CLG versus Immortals.
Yeah, so like I said, I hate Immortals. They suck. They cost me about $1,300 yesterday that I would have won. But the thing is with Immortals, like they're just not as good as CLG in almost every role. So Finn is better than Revenge. Brox is better than Xerxes. Pobelter and Insanity are at worst even. Especially in the way that I think this game will play out. It'll be like Pobelter on a control mage against Insanity on a control mage. Nothing will happen mid lane, and then he'll just be able to team fight really well. I'm not saying Insanity can't team fight really well. It's just that's kind of Pobelter's MO. And then Wild Turtle and Smoothie against Rays and Destiny. Rays and Destiny, everybody loves the OPL, OCE like narrative, but they're just not that good. Neither is Wild Turtle, so they're pretty fortunate that they're going up against him today. But the thing with CLG is they actually looked okay against Team Liquid in their match. The problem was that they had too much early game. Jin, horrible champion. Wild Turtle, horrible player. Jin plus Wild Turtle, you're gonna lose. That's just how the game. That's just how the game goes. They had some okay spots where like they were playing for like the mid game team fights, and like Renekton was diving in and like it was Renekton and Gwen diving into Team Liquid in the mid lane, and then Jin, after almost dying, like could just use his ultimate, which is generally something that doesn't happen because Jin's ultimate's horrible. Um, but but in this matchup, I think that CLG is probably going to be forced into a later style of game. I think blue side's a huge advantage in this meta. So even though it's 50 or blue side's 500 right now, but I think that as time goes on, we're going to see that skew pretty hard in their favor. Immortals is not going to get Rumble today. It's just not going to happen. Imagine, I mean, it could happen because CLG, but imagine being the coach of CLG, letting Immortals get Rumble after winning two Rumble games. It just doesn't really make any sense. So hopefully we see something new from Immortals and new from CLG today. Broxa hasn't had a chance to shine so far this split. I think that changes today. Finn, I think they could just play through Finn, and I think that they would win the game pretty easily. Going to the top side of the map. That's just how I see it. I think Immortals after those 2 wins, this is the time to be against them. If that kills me 2 days in a row, that's just how DraftKings works. But I'm pretty comfortable sticking with like my priors on CLG going into the season, just thinking that they're a relatively strong team. Haven't looked great so far, but being able to kind of hold on against Team Liquid for as long as they did was pretty good. They were continuously looking for different ways to come back in the game. So that's something you'll get from them. I know that since they're all veterans, you might have like a lot of previous negative memories about them just in general. But there's also the good stuff that comes with that. And I think that they'll be able to rely on that to beat Immortals. Because, I mean, Broxa at his peak is better than Xerxes at his peak, just historically. So in a meta where the jungle is so important and Xerxes is not going to get his best champion, I think that CLG can win this one pretty easy.
All right, sounds good. I like this starting out here on the Infinity Edge. There's a lot of contention between you two this year.
Michael definitely won yesterday. Let me tell you. There, I think I picked FlyQuest over Dignitas and somebody else over TSM maybe, and I think Michael was right on both those. So score 1 day for Michael.
Well, score 2 days for Michael. Day 1. We had TSM against Team Liquid and EG against Dignitas. I got both of those. You won FlyQuest against CLG, right? Or did CLG win that?
No, I won FlyQuest against CLG. Yeah. I also liked Evil Geniuses against Dignitas.
Yeah.
And you picked Dignitas, yes.
Yeah. So far it's 2 days to 0. I'm just saying. Maybe that changes today. Maybe it doesn't. What are we different on today?
Immortals. That's basically it, right?
Well, you have Digger 100 Thieves.
I care, but I'll take 100 Thieves.
Okay, and then EG FlyQuest.
EG.
Okay, I'll take FlyQuest. C9 Team Liquid. You're on Team Liquid. I'm on C9, right?
Yeah, that works.
TSM Golden Guardians. I'm not taking Golden Guardians. Then
you have to. You won the first 2 days.
four games were on different sides. So hopefully we just chop it 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, it also happens to be that this slate is full of like very close games, so I'm comfortable being on either side on a lot of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I think blue side wins 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 today.
I could see that.
Yeah. All right. Well, be sure to tune in next Friday on our free show to see how these matchups actually turned out. Who's going to brag again on the Infinity Edge? Before we get out of here, you're going to be playing in most of your lineups.
Oh shit, you guys just froze, but whatever. Say what you said again.
Yeah, I was gonna say everything was freezing for me.
Your favorite team going into today's slate? Just one word. Your favorite team on DraftKings. Go.
Immortals.
CLG.
All right.
Not
the
really.
Sunday night.
Cloud9.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for us. If you made it this far, I want to thank everyone for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the Esports Department YouTube channel. Also, as always, want to thank Michael and Alan for joining me today. You can find Michael at League of Items and Alan at LCS Picks on Twitter. You can find me at XGhostWriter90. And don't forget, you can get 10% off a subscription by using the code IEDGE to gain access to all the projections for League of Legends, CSGO, Dota's on there, Valorant if it comes back. Who knows what DraftKings is doing with esports at the moment. But there's one thing you should know. The esports department is for you. Good luck on the slate today, and let's go make some money.
See ya.
See ya.